What's your thoughts on renting? Like you saying that makes total sense to me. But if you tell a lot of people sell your house to rent, most people will think you're nuts, right? What's your thought on renting? You think it's throwing money away, or do you think it's just a cost of living that you are going to have one way or the other?
I think it's the quote unquote American dream is to go to school, get good grades, go to college, get a job, buy a house, get married, start a family, invest in your 401k, diversify. And I think owning the home that you actually live in, a primary residence, is one of the biggest fallacies in America today. If you actually run the numbers, run the math with most markets around the country right now, it's actually a lot cheaper to rent than it is to own. And so for me, where I live, I'll give you an example. My rent's about $12,300 a month. It's a high-rise apartment that I rent, and I moved in for a $500 deposit. I got 1 month free, and I paid $12,300 a month. If I was to buy that condo, it would have been about $300,000 down payment plus closing costs. And the way rate environment is today, PITI, interest rate, taxes, insurance, I'm looking at a payment of about $20,000 a month. So I'm saving $8,000 a month to live there. I'm saving the opportunity cost of putting $300,000 down plus closing costs. And now I can take that $300,000 savings and put that down on more real estate, investment real estate, that pays me every single month, and oh, by the way, has tax advantages.
Okay, so the justification and why rent no longer means throwing away money is because you're taking what in theory would be a down payment and putting that into a rental property or cash flowing investment, which is then putting you in a position where you're paying your cost of living the same way you would with a mortgage. Rent is actually much cheaper in contrast to ownership right now. And that money that, in theory would go into the home is actually earning a higher return in an actual investment property.
100%. And also if you look at where I live, it's like a downtown area, Little Italy neighborhood, a bunch of high rises.
It's a nice area.
It is a nice area. I love it there. Now, I never want to own a condo. A high rise condo is probably the worst investment that you could possibly make. And I'll tell you why. The value in owning real estate is owning the dirt. You know this better than anyone. And so you go buy that high-rise condo that has an HOA. Most of these buildings have HOAs. And oh, by the way, those HOAs go up every single month. And as those HOAs go up every single year, the amount of people that actually are willing to buy into that condo goes down. And so at the same rate, a single-family home in San Diego or whatever market that you live in the country went up by 50%. That condo now went up by probably a fraction of that, maybe 15%. Right? And so for me, I never want to own a condo, and that's why I decided to rent and parlay that with the reasons that you just alluded to. The main thing is the opportunity costs. Run the numbers, what's cheaper, what's not, and then opportunity cost-wise, there's always an opportunity cost. And for me, I would rather own investment real estate that I can force appreciation, like commercial real estate. I do value-add projects, control my appreciation, control my valuation, and then I get the tax benefits in addition to that. See, a lot of people think real estate's about cash flow, but in all reality, real estate is about debt and taxes. And I think once you understand that, things change for you perspective-wise.
Yeah, we talked about when I did your podcast that everybody talks about the importance of cash flow. Mm-hmm. And, we mentioned that, I don't really care about cash flow. You when you're doing a project, you do want cash flow coming in because that is like the lifeblood of the asset, right? You don't want to be paying your expenses or your debt service yourself. Now You're in kind of primary home world. But the true wealth comes from appreciation, right? Same with building a business. Where do you really get your wealth built? On acquisition, or when you sell the company. Mm-hmm. So be careful if you put all your attention towards cash flow. From a return standpoint, it's always going to be less than what you can get if you're forcing appreciation, especially in a high appreciation market, right? You talking about investment properties. I know what you do. I got to stay in one. Talk about your business, the asset class that you're going after, because it's a really cool niche.
Yeah, so right now we have a fund and we're buying boutique hotels. We're targeting boutique hotels kind of in that $10 million and under price range. And the reason is we got 40 million baby boomers retiring here in the next 7 years. And it's estimated that 25% of these hotels out there are owned by these retiring boomers. A lot of these boutique hotels have not been renovated in decades. They're not utilizing any technology. And so it's a huge opportunity for us to come in, do a nice reno, and buy these hotels on seller financing. A lot of these mom and pop owners bought their hotels 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago on seller financing. So they're already expecting to sell or an exit on seller financing. It's probably the easiest asset class out there to obtain creative financing because of that. But ultimately, it gives us an opportunity to renovate these properties and then implement, technology in marketing. So what we do is we will always look to operate remotely, free of the on-site management. So we'll do a self-check-in, self-checkout model with the guests. It does two things for us as operators. It allows us to obviously operate more lean because the payroll expense of having a manager on site now drops to the bottom line. That juices our NOI. But it also allows us to take the innkeeper suite. Most of these small hotels out there have what's called an innkeeper suite or a manager's unit where the innkeeper or the on-site manager will live in. And for most properties, it's like the nicest unit on the property, often 2 bedrooms, kitchens, full living rooms. And so we get to renovate that unit and bring it online for additional revenue. So that's part of the value add strategy. But all in all, the biggest reason we're doing it is because I'm seeing the fucking writing on the wall. We manage Airbnbs in 8 markets right now around the country, stuff that I own, but also for a lot of third-party owners as well as our investors. And so we have a good pulse of what's going on in the Airbnb market. The numbers right now in all the markets that we manage in are tremendously down from 2021 when everyone's on lockdown. People were traveling domestically. No one was traveling internationally at that time. And so if you look at the regulatory environment out there, we just saw what happened in New York City. They just banned short-term rentals. San Diego just regulated. Airbnb is going away in a lot of markets around the country right now. And so as that happens, it's bringing more demand back to the boutique hotels. And so I'm seeing the writing on the wall. I see a lot of people on social media pushing the Airbnb thing right now, pushing their online coaching businesses. I'm like, dude, if you're getting in the fucking Airbnb game right now, I'm sorry, but you're like 5 years late to the fucking party. So I'm zigging when others are zagging, and we're going all in the boutique hotel space. So when I go, the last thing I'll say this, Mikey, is when I go speak at these conferences and I go to these real estate conferences around the country, everyone I talk to is like, yo, Rich, I'm doing Airbnbs right now, but I cannot wait to buy my first boutique hotel. So I feel like in 2 or 3 years, that's going to be the next big thing.
Okay, so if you got into Airbnb in 21, 22, when money was cheap, everybody had too much of it, and it was the hype, and now you own 1, 2, 3 Airbnbs, what do you do? Are you trying to sell them right now?
So I got a buddy right now that owns 9 Airbnbs, and he got in during that same time period, and he did pretty decent with most of them. He is literally going to sell all of them, and he's rolling them all into boutique hotels. He just bought his first hotel, and now he just got a second one under contract. So I would say if you have equity and you have the ability to move that into a boutique hotel, and it's something that you're passionate about, and it gets you excited, it feels light, I would certainly look at doing that. Now, on the flip side, if you have a short-term rental in a great location, like I got a few that just crush, and they're in good locations. These are locations that I don't want to ever sell. So I'm keeping those. But the ones that are not cash flowing great, the ones that are not performing great, I would look to move that equity into some boutique hotel stuff. It's commercial real estate, right? So unlike a single-family Airbnb where the valuation is dependent on the market trends and what the comps are saying, so whatever the house is worth across the street, from a price per square foot basis, relatively speaking, is what your home is going to be valued, regardless of how much income it makes as an Airbnb. With the boutique hotel stuff, it's different. It's based on the income approach. The more I can increase the income, the more I can decrease the expenses, the more I can force my appreciation, giving me more control over the asset.
Yeah, that's right. That's 100% right. If you like this video and want to watch the full episode, click here. Or if you want to see more interviews like this, click here.